So yeah, like a lot of these photographs are taken from helicopters. The interesting the practicality of taking images from a helicopter is often you have to shoot through glass. So I have a special kind of um, like rubber lens hood that I push right up onto the glass, and therefore you lose all the reflections. It's just something to know if you ever do have to go into a chopper, because they're quite good to get pictures from. Um,
I did, Derek, and we did it in Switzerland, and we were just hanging out of the door with the door wide open, and it was so scary, man. I was so
yeah,
scared. It's
yeah,
like,
no, yeah, yeah. Sometimes they can take them off. Other times, like you just got to shoot through the glass. So
so scary.
obviously, yeah, it is scary. And then this was from some pictures I took while I was on the South Island of New Zealand, working on a couple of book projects. And this is a tuatara, like one of the really, there's only like I think 4 or 5 of these in captivity, but I managed to get into the closure with the tuatara. So that was, I quite like photographing animals. Um, this is I was kind of interested in the ravens that hang around the national park in Kosciuszko. They're really, really intelligent animals. They're quite hard to get close to because they're smart, and they probably know that humans are, you probably want to stay away from them. But I love photographing animals. This was a job, a commission from Louis Vuitton up at Cape York, because they do a lot of sustainability things. They're actually supporting one of the some land up there, about 500,000 hectares that quite a few of the indigenous people live on. So they're putting in more schools and more power and the internet and all that kind of stuff. So they have a relationship with them. So that's cool. So there's more and more work for me like this now, doing this kind of work for sustainability stuff. Um, this I get to shoot a lot in New Zealand. People want me to shoot there for different magazines, like a lot of the travel magazines, European magazines, American magazines. So that's kind of nice. Most of these images I are actually on a digital camera. I love shooting on film, but I just find it's limiting, and it's really expensive. And I think nowadays you can get a pretty close result to film anyway. And yeah, it just gives me more options. I can give my clients more options. So yeah, I don't really shoot on film that much anymore. These are more from New Zealand, again, commissions. This was used by Rimowa, who are they make luggage, and they're part of the LV, with those guys. And yeah, I was quite surprised that they used this image, but that's what I feel a lot of brands are getting into now. They want to sort of experience travel and emotion, and not it to be overly driven by product so much. So that was quite surprised. This is my daughter on holiday. I was actually working, and the family was there with me, so I managed to get this picture, and they actually used it in the campaign as well. So, but I think they liked it because it's, there you are looking at the world, and she's quite tiny, but you can see it sort of transfixes her, and it's the beauty of the nature and being in a place like that and being at one with it. I think that's what I'm trying to do all the time. That's the same place. That's hopefully has that same kind of feeling. The bubble's kind of a metaphor for us. We're this tiny thing in this amazing universe. This lady's Maya Hoffman, who's this was for the Wall Street Journal. I shot this one on film, actually. This was on 4x5, and this was at a hotel in Arles in the south of France, where she has an art institute there that Frank Gehry built. So she's, a very wealthy patron of the arts. But it was interesting taking her portrait, because she was very, very, really nervous, almost to the point where she was kind of crying. And so sometimes you're in these situations where you're with these people that are, quite powerful in the world we live in, but they really hate having their photograph taken. And I think it's because they know it's a representation of who they are to the world, and that sometimes, they worry about how they look to the world. So you sort of, when you're commissioned, to do portraits, you've got to sort of make people feel relaxed and get them in a place where they feel comfortable with the way they look and almost accept the way they look. Um, but in the end, I think this is a really powerful portrait of her. It shows her sort of intensity for life. You can sort of almost see that in her eyes, the way she's looking directly into the camera. And she must have liked it because it's an image that she uses quite a bit now for a lot of her company, the big pharmaceutical company that her family owns. This is Kamchatka in Russia that I shot for Condé Nast Traveler. So again, this one's out of a helicopter, which is always good fun. This is for a fashion label, a New Zealand label called Rod and Gun, and they're kind of moving into that area of where they really want to show the nature and the environment and the travel experience of being. So you can sort of see, you can't really see much of the clothes, but they don't mind that, and they understand that branding is kind of about what you want to convey as your company, whether you appreciate this beautiful world we live in or you're immensely product driven. So a lot of people call it greenwashing, but I don't actually believe that. I think a lot of these brands are very aware that people want to see more of nature and more of people in nature and enjoying it, getting the most out of it. So yeah, we go away for a weekend and just shoot in these very remote places in New Zealand, and they just happen to be wearing their clothes really. So, and there you get the product in there as well. So that sort of fulfills that need. This is how we got there, in and out of helicopters. So, and they use these images as well. This is from a book called Circadian Rhythm that I did a few years ago in New Zealand. I like it because it's like a dead end, but is it a dead end? It's leading you back into the nature from these small towns. That's Kamchatka again. This is where the Russians practice with their their vehicles on the moon. So this is where they would test them to see if they would work. So it looks very moon-like, and it is moon-like. This is from one of my first books, Terrible Boredom of Paradise, shot on 4x5. So again, it's just me traipsing around taking photos. This one I particularly like. That's from the same book. That's I just liked what he'd called the bus far away, in New Zealand being far away and everything. He was actually from the UK, and he'd retired out to New Zealand to live in this bus and just travel around. And I just thought that was a great reflection on how you can live your life. So Andrew could probably tell us about this one. Andrew was the creative director at Stella McCartney, and he's been a creative director at a lot of places. He's worked on some big campaigns, Prada, yeah, you name it. Andrew
Yeah.
has probably done it all, and so he's very experienced. So Andrew, maybe you could sort of, when you're commissioned, right? And
Yeah.
I'm far away and you've got to come down and we talk to each other a little bit. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
on the shoot, how some
Yeah.
creative directors, and I thought this is an example of what you did, is you knew exactly what you needed from the process. You knew what we
Yeah.
needed, and you
Yeah.
kind of drove the bus, if you know what I mean. Sometimes I do, sometimes the creative director. It's obviously a
Yeah.
combination, but maybe you could sort of just
Yeah. I
sort of
mean,
go
that's
through the process.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. Firstly, it was a really amazing, fun job with Derek. I've been a fan of Derek's work for many years. And then we were looking at a certain talent, which was Sarah Snook, based in Australia, to shoot with. I immediately thought of Derek. And then when we started having some conversations with Derek, I was aware of his work, but we started to see all this amazing nature and landscape and some horses. And we knew Stella would really like that because Stella was obsessed by horses. And so the concept was to shoot Sarah Snook in a horse and shoot in and around that. And yeah, I do sort of drive things a little bit, but sometimes I can, yeah, like here's one of the shots here. So this is for Stella. So this is based off like 2 or 3 or 4 different pictures that we did, maybe 10 pictures that we did. But it worked really beautifully because I kind of do drive a bit, but really Derek's talking to her. Derek's making her do what he wants to do. And then I'm talking to Derek, and then
yeah,
it kind of works like tag team kind of thing, right? Derek, it's like, oh, let's try this, and you speak to her, and let's do that, and then it's a kind of that's the kind of team thing. But sometimes what you can do is almost like commission photographers, and they just do it, and you barely say anything. But I love Derek, and I was a fan, and I wanted to be involved in the image making with him. I think that was it. I wanted to be involved in it and see it and bring it to life with him.
yeah.
That makes sense.
No, that does. But what the interesting thing that I sometimes like working with the team, what I really like is you when you're the photographer, you slightly have tunnel vision about what you're doing because you're so involved
Yeah,
in the subject matter, and that being Stella. And also there's a live horse in there, a really big horse. And you've kind of
so challenging.
you're trying to
Nobody here can realize. Like, I came back from that shoot shell shocked. I've never worked with a horse. The horse only does certain things. The horse has a fence around it. It can't walk past the fence. You can't put another horse near the horse. You can't. She wouldn't sit
can't
on the
have
horse.
lights, you
Yeah,
can't have a reflector. And
yeah.
because they're these like quite special horses, they can be quite flighty, you can't, it's a real, so I'm very close to Stella and the horse. I was probably only like, 4 feet away from it. So I could whisper to Stella. But then Andrew was looking at a screen because the images are going straight to a screen. So Andrew can see them. So, in a way, because he's slightly removed from the situation, he can be probably a bit more pragmatic about things. And so he'd always be saying, no, that looks great. Work that. Look at that. That looks good. And we were conveying it. I was kind of conveying it to Stella, but also Stella could sometimes, Sarah, sorry, could
No.
hear what we were talking about, and she
Yeah.
would go, she was clocking into both of us. So it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a communication thing, which
It
under,
was it was really good. It was honestly for anyone here. I know there's only four people here, but it was a manic day. We got a lot
yeah,
done, and the pictures looked great, and we're all very happy with it. And the weird thing is, it was a very tight schedule. We had to get
yeah.
8 or 10 pictures out, and it was a crazy day. But
Yeah,
Derek, one
but
of the things to
that's
us,
what you do, isn't it? That's what you've got to do. You can't
that's my
turn up
job. Yeah,
and
that's
kind of
my job.
go, "Oh, I'm not feeling it today," or "Fuck,
Yeah,
you've got to soldier on and find
you
that
have to.
image and get it. There's no excuses. You can't.
You have to. And you're so good at that, Derek. I had a question for the room and for you actually, and I think it's a really important one. And I've been thinking about it today, is your work is very breathtaking. It's very, very beautiful in a landscape context.
Yeah,
When I look at landscapes in your book projects, it's so good. I've got two questions actually. But in
yeah.
the book projects or the landscapes, it's so good. But at what point, how does it work for you when you have landscape and subject? How does that work? Like the Bottega thing. Stella, there wasn't really a landscape as such, but like where you had your daughter in the water, like
Yeah.
what comes first? Do you see the landscape and you're like, this is it, and then
Yeah, I
let
kind of
it in?
think
Or
yeah.
how does it, how as an image maker, how does it work? What's
I
the
think
thing
it
that
does work that way around. I find the landscape that we're in, and then and normally what I would do is place the person in that landscape. So it's not like I lock it off to say here's the landscape, but it is
right?
like look at this. This is amazing. This is what I want
Yeah,
to put them in.
yeah,
So it's quite philosophical in that sense that it's
yeah,
the landscape comes first, and then we're
right.
part of that landscape. So,
Yeah, right, right. Like it
so
could be the bubble, like the bubble that we saw
yeah,
was part of the landscape, right? So I think the way that you work, well, the images that I know of yours, I saw fashion images as well as landscapes when we were
yeah,
looking into your work, Bottega and the other work you were doing
yeah,
with Vuitton was more landscape based. But what I love about your work is just that sense of like breathlessness, beauty in the landscape, and then there's a subject in there, and that's I think that's the gold dust that's you. We don't
well,
have it here in the
well,
South because we have to be
thanks,
focused on it.
Andrew. Yeah, I think if you can bring those two together, I feel like some brands really want that.
Yeah,
If they're looking for that, then yeah, they go for you. If they're just maybe looking for a fashion image, on a white background, probably
yeah,
not so much. But that's great because there's other people that do that.
Yeah,
but there's definitely work out there if you're interested in the landscape, and a lot of brands, I think, are sort of, getting involved in that now, and
yeah,
understanding that, especially because it's the world's a lot much more of a global place now, so people
yeah.
are aware of going to places and traveling. So yeah,
Yeah, and I was speaking to an art director, a creative director who I really admire. Do you know Johnny Liu?
yeah,
Johnny Liu.
yeah,
So he's an Aussie guy, and he's really great. And I've been
yeah,
trying to make me work with him. And he was saying to me, I love doing books more than anything else, more
yeah,
than campaigns, more. And he said because I have more creative freedom, and I can just lay this book out and do this thing. And I think the way that you're working is that you produce these series of landscapes or horses, the latest book. It becomes like a project that you can be totally yourself in and totally selfish, and it's very beautiful to see that, I think.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and hopefully people buy into what you do for yourself personally for those projects, exhibitions, and books, and they can
Yeah,
see that they can use that in a commercial sense. Because I
yeah,
think it's really important to understand, um, with a lot of photography. If you can make money doing photography, why not? I just love taking pictures anyway. Like the worst job I ever do, I'm still really excited about it, that I'm taking photographs. I
yeah.
don't, I'm not too, I feel privileged, to be able to do this stuff. So, I think what a way to make a living, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah,
Keep
that
doing more.
was a great job to do. That was a great commission. And like, even though we didn't have a very long time, sometimes that's how it is. Things come together.
Yeah, it worked really well. I mean, I was in and out of Melbourne in 2 days. It was
I know,
crazy.
man. I know. I don't know how you guys flew all the way down and then sort of buggered off. See, that's a classic example of, like, I would just drive around. This is Editorial, and for a magazine, and I looked at the tree, and it was one of those crabapple trees, and that
Yeah,
reminded me of when I was a kid. We had a
yeah.
crabapple tree, and I really thought the tree was beautiful, and so I just simply put the girl in front of it,
Put the girl in it. Yeah,
and
that
then
that's the thing. That
it's
makes it feel
beautiful,
more artistic. It feels more artistic in that way.
Yeah.
It feels more artistic like that.
And
Yeah,
I feel like, if the best pictures for me of people are when they look like Renaissance paintings, and I feel
mm.
that's almost there because of her, the way she looks,
Mm.
and also what she's wearing, and yeah, and that's the same girl. I
Mm.
really love working with her all the time.
Mm.
She has
Mm.
just a good vibe about her. That's for Holiday magazine, a great.
This is such a cool magazine. I love this
Oh yeah,
magazine.
yeah. Frank Duran and his team, they're so cool. Look, he's very much driven too by, he'll get in touch with you and he'll say, we're doing an issue on Argentina. What ideas have you got? And so my idea was, there was a writer from the 70s. He's passed away now, called Bruce Chatwin, and he was a travel writer, but he sort of, a lot of the stuff he would write would be fiction. So he'd be pretending that he'd done these things in Argentina when he hadn't actually done them. He'd make them up. And then some of the stuff was true. So I said, yeah, crazy guy, but an amazing writer. He sort of, yeah, he sort of kind of started this genre of kind of fiction, non-fiction travel kind of writing, which is very popular kind of nowadays. Um, but he went on a trip to Argentina, to Patagonia, and the book's actually called In Patagonia. And I tried to follow in his footsteps. And of course, a lot of the time it was impossible because he was just making it up. But then sometimes you'd turn up in a town that he'd been in, and someone would say, "Oh no, Bruce stayed with us," to get a little bit of an insight into what he was like. And some people really liked him. He was very polarizing because he didn't have a lot of money, and he'd almost live off, the generosity of people. We'd stay in their houses, and you could tell some of them didn't really like him at all because he overstayed his welcome. But I mean, a great trip, and a really interesting man. There's Bottega. So like you say, the background of that's just in Emma's backyard. And sometimes when a client says to you, "Yeah, we just want it to look like, you know, um, domestic, or somewhere that she's familiar with," And sometimes in the back of my head, I'm thinking, are they just saying that or do they really want that? So I went round and photographed her backyard, and the creative director goes, no, no, that we should definitely do a shot there. So,
That's
again,
perfect. Can I jump in there, Derek?
yeah,
Sorry
yeah,
to talk a little bit. So
all good.
when this campaign came out, this was a new part of Bottega Veneta in the fashion industry, and everybody was like, "This is Emma. What's her name? I've forgotten her name. She used to be a really big deal.
Yeah, yeah, wife. Can you remember her last name, Matt?
She's an
Sutherland?
Aussie.
Uh,
Say it again.
Sutherland?
No, no,
Yeah,
no,
no, it's Emma.
no.
It's got like it's like Noble or something. Emma. She did like Celine.
Yeah,
She was
she
a
did a
really
lot of
big.
stuff. Yeah, Emma
So
Bell. Emma
this
Bell.
model
Emma
was
Balfour, yeah.
Emma Balfour. That's it. Emma
Yeah.
Balfour. So she worked a lot with Jürgen Teller, and she was a really big model, not a supermodel per se, but she was the
Yeah,
coolest model.
she was
Celine doing
cool.
those things. And then I heard she moved back to Australia, and I never saw her again. I hadn't worked with her. But then these pictures came out, and we were like, "Oh, what the fuck? She looks amazing. The landscape looks amazing." And it was like a
Yeah,
new direction for Bottega Veneta, and no
yeah,
one had ever seen pictures like this. So this was like it was like a kind of an art photographer, Derek, doing a fashion campaign for a European fashion house. That's what
yeah,
we thought. That's what everybody in the industry thought. They were like, what the fuck? This is like art photography, which Derek isn't really art photography, but maybe he is in the fashion industry in a European world. So it's really
yeah,
interesting to see this, especially with her being Aussie. And like, it was so cool because it was just very different from hyper retouched, loads of flash,
yeah.
studio,
All of that
you know,
stuff. I mean, who was the designer at the time was Matthew.
Blase,
Yeah,
who's at
Blake,
Chanel.
who's at
He's at
Chanel
Chanel.
now, right? And I
Yeah.
think he very much likes using like photographers who aren't necessarily so
Yeah.
fashion based, like
Get back in touch with him, dude. You do a Chanel campaign, you know what I mean? Get back
yeah,
in, get your
yeah,
aliens, get
yeah,
back
no,
in touch.
exactly. Yeah, I'll
But
see, I'll see if I can get in touch with him.
yeah, it was Matthew Blase. And I think what was interesting, I think it was his first or second season there.
Yeah,
He did a great job. And then this came out and it was just like a real palate cleanser. It was
yeah,
different
I
from
think so. I think so.
and that drew me back into Derek's work again because my old boss was talking about Derek to me years ago, David, and then I was like vibing on the work.
Yeah, that's how these things happen, right? So yeah, that was
Yeah.
beautiful to shoot with her. This
But it's
is
so, Derek, can you talk a little bit more about that shoot just for me? Because I
yeah,
don't know the
yeah, yeah.
backstory. So,
So
garden, you did a test, you sent it to Matthew. What did you do? Like, how did it
yeah,
work?
so I was just dealing with one of not I kind of got with him that he didn't really. I'm sure he had a creative director that took care of all of the image making and stuff like that. But I think he was really involved in it, and I was more dealing with like his personal secretary, sending him her images, and then she
Right,
handing them on to him, and
right.
she'd back and he'd go, no, he really likes her place, he likes her home, and he likes her son. Can you do a picture of him as well? And I think we ended up shooting her son as well. I've got the picture in here somewhere. He loved this picture. He thought, oh wow,
That's
like
great.
he
Is that the
just wanted a
sun?
fashion photo. No, that was from a personal project I'd done, but I think
Yeah.
it got me the campaign, which is like you can see there's a sort of thread of this portraiture in nature that runs through.
Yeah, yeah, it runs through your work. But do you think what,
Here it
just
is.
on that, yeah, on that note, is
Yeah,
that the sun there? Yeah, that's the sun,
and
right?
the sun, yeah, and they use
On
that
that,
as well. Like they're really
on
happy.
that, on that note, the interesting thing there, Derek, for everybody here, I know there's only 3 or 4 people here, but the process is quite unique. You know, if I'm shooting, usually the horrible thing is I turn up on set, I have to do a recce myself in the morning in an hour, smashing through hundreds of pictures. So did you get the opportunity to like recce it, do test shoots, hang out, get to know her, come
I
back?
I kind of know her because she lives around the corner, strangely enough. And when they said they wanted to shoot her, I went, oh, actually, she just lives about 200 meters from me down the road. Um, so I knew her backyard as well. And so literally, when they started talking about what they kind of wanted to do, they said, look, we want to keep it really local. So I went round, took some pictures of her house, and they said, oh, we really like the backyard. That's a chicken coop in the background. And I was like, again, I was a bit like, do you really want the chicken coop? I wasn't believing what they were saying. I wanted to, I really wanted to, but I was like, sometimes, I was like, really? And then they said, no, 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 he really wants that. And then I shot some pictures. I said, look, I go down to this beach called Mackenzie's, and it's a rocky beach. It's not like the sandy beaches like Bondi or anything. And they said, go down there and take some photos. So I did, and he went, oh no, I love those rocks too. Let's do some shots down there. And we only had to do like, I think, 8 pictures in a day, and we'd worked out where we were going to shoot. And there was a stylist who'd brought out the outfits, and we just and they just hung out, and we shot it in a day, and it was like
Right.
it was very relaxed. I got to say we were, very lucky, and there weren't that many people on the shoot. It was quite a chilled day. So
Right.
it
It's
was
just, I just think it's interesting that you talk about the process because it's very different from a traditional fashion campaign now or
yeah.
these days, which is
Yeah.
much more
I
pressure
I
and
I
no
found like
creativity,
I
no
I
risk.
did I know I did something the other day, and I mean it was a celebrity based thing, which a lot of people are doing now, because I kind of get it, it's good for their marketing and all that. But what happens is that your connection with the talent is sort of really limited, because there's literally like about 40 people on the shoot, and all of the team that come with the celebrity are taking photos, cell phone photos, like
Yeah.
with iPhone photos, and they're taking videos. But then
Yeah.
also there'll be someone there with a video camera and a stills camera from their team.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're literally trying to talk to them and take a photo, and there's all these other people taking like they don't even know. It's a really strange kind of phenomenon, and it's sort of, so you've got to disconnect with the talent, and I reckon that disconnect isn't doing the brand any favors. It's actually making it work. It's sort of watering it down to this kind of impersonal, relationship that I doesn't come through, like you see these pictures, and sometimes you just think, and I think good photographers kind of go, no, no, clear off, get the fuck, get away, because you're ruining what atmosphere we have. It's just
Yeah.
getting sucked out dry, because like you're saying, Andrew, these shoots have become these massive kind of marketing exercises where they value commodity, you know, over quality, So, and
Right. Yeah.
yeah, over
I get
beautiful
asked that
pictures.
question. I get asked that question sometimes. I mean, I have that a lot with Ava Mendes and a lot of those with Ray and a lot of those artists that we work with, Stella, and we did great pictures actually, but there was like the whole team around. But one of the things for the room here that's quite interesting, I've been asked on quite a few occasions, how are those Prada campaigns like so good? And the reason why the Prada campaigns that I did in the 90s or the noughties are so good is there really was a photographer like Glenn Luchford or Norbert Schöner, my boss David James, the creative director from Prada and Mrs. Prada, and that was it. So there was
That
no
was it.
marketing manager, there was
Yeah,
no social media manager, there was
yeah,
no film, there was no attachment, and the only person talking to us was Mrs. Prada, and
yeah,
we would be on shoot for 3 weeks. So a
yeah,
Prada shoot would be 3 weeks long, and we would take some pictures on film, print them out, put them on the wall, and David and Norbert or David and Glenn would talk about it. And I'd be listening and maybe saying a few things,
yeah,
and then they would send the pictures off to Mrs. Prada in a courier on a bike on a plane, and then she would send instructions back on a fax machine, and then
yeah,
we'd look at the fax. Fuck, she didn't like the outfit here. Reshoot, and then we go
yeah,
again and go again. So there's no social media team, there's no film team, there's no people there with like a degree in marketing or A levels in marketing telling them that's what they want for the brand. That didn't exist. It's just Mrs. Prada talking over fax or telephone.
yeah.
David and the creative director and Norbert and Glenn and maybe we here and we're there. And so it wasn't a small team, it was still a biggish team, but the communication was such that it was just these really brilliant creative people talking to the boss of the company, and that was it. There
And
was
that was
no
it. There's no in between. There's no watering it down, is what I call it.
no.
I think they get scared, like they start to get tunnel vision about the product, and,
And also the people you have around them are great, like Glenn Luttrell or Norbert Schöner. These
yeah,
people are already incredible, and they have 3 weeks to shoot this. So every
yeah,
day they're
yeah,
pushing. So imagine if you had 3 weeks to shoot this Bottega thing, it'd be even better, right? So it's just like
yeah.
you just it's.
Yeah, well,
So I
the
think
good thing about the Bottega thing was, I have to say, there was nobody else there. They were like taking photos on their phone or anything. I felt like they were very in tuned with that, and they didn't want that. They really wanted it, and I think that came from Matthew from up top. It was like,
Yeah.
no, none of that stuff, please. Let's stay away from that. So, that's yeah, I think we are losing a little bit of it. And look, it's not that I blame the people from marketing personally. Like, they're just trying to do their job. But I think a lot of them aren't that they're not coming from a creative background. They're
They're not qualified because they're not
no,
art directors, they're not photographers. They
no,
have a degree in like marketing from some college, and
yeah,
they didn't study art, they didn't study
no,
photography, they might have studied like communication, or so it's sort of like, and they know what the brand needs, but they don't know how to articulate it, and they just keep
no.
saying this shit. It doesn't make sense, and
It
yeah,
it
I
it's
don't mind big sets. I've been on sets with 100 people. I don't care, but
No,
it's just so
I
hard.
get tunnel vision anyway. I'm just trying to concentrate, on the person that's in front of me and trying to connect with them. Because if I don't connect with them, then the photo's not going to have that in it. It's going to be very dull. It doesn't, you know, it just will be, like what you want from even from someone who's the reason why a lot of these actors and stuff are really good at it's not just because they're good looking, it's because they connect with the camera. And you see that in these great stars. They turn up and there's all this shit going on around them, this crap going on. But they are trying to do it as well. They're trying to just, when it's time to go, they're like, okay, me and you, let's go. And that's what you're looking for. I think that's really, really important, is to tune out all the noise.
Mm.
Yeah, that's constantly sort of what you're trying to do. I mean, that's sort of like that could be a fashion image. You know what I mean? It's not that far away from, and these ones as well, but
Great,
like
it's so good,
they're
it's
like
so interesting.
yeah, personal pro. That's basically the concept behind that is in Fiji in the Second World War. The Americans introduced this noxious kind of weed from weirdly from Japan, that's where it's from, and it grows 6 inches a day. And what it did, they could hide all their like machinery, their tanks and their planes, because this stuff would grow. It was like a natural netting. So when the Japanese bombers were coming over, they couldn't see them on these small islands as they were coming up through the Pacific to attack Japan. But now what has happened is this island is being strangled by this noxious weed called kudzu. Um, so he's a metaphor for the weed. You know what I mean? So he's like, wearing that outfit. It's kind of like that's the
Really
weed,
cool,
and it
so
was
cool.
brought in by human beings into Fiji. So he's sort of omnipresent in the photographs. Um,
Can I see the Bottega one again? I just want to admire it for one more second.
cool.
Not that one, the Emma one.
Oh, the Emma one. Yeah, okay, okay. There's one that I haven't put in here that was down at the beach, which I don't know why I didn't put it in there, because I actually think I just probably couldn't find it. It was the best one actually. Even on the beach, I really liked where she was. I'll probably never be able to find it. Yeah, hang on. It's in here
Oh,
somewhere. There it is. Yeah,
don't-
yeah. I mean, yeah. And
I might repost this as a little screen grab with your face on it on my socials because it looks so good. Your
good on
face.
you, Andrew. Thank you so much. Um, so there's hundreds of um, like photos that could be used in a commercial kind of sense, I suppose, of my pictures. And more like magazines want to use them for covers, and they've got no fashion covers on them, and that was for Chanel, and it was just about the
That's what makes it so
look.
interesting, because I
Yeah,
think as soon as you put too much fashion in it, it gets too commercial. Yeah, we did a
yeah,
commercial picture of Stella, right? But this is very beautiful, the work. And that's the thing, as I said at the start of the conversation, I think that's the beautiful thing about your work. It's like a landscape image, and oh, by the way, there's some fashion in it, or by the way, there's a person
yeah,
in it, but it doesn't take over. It's like
yeah.
a complete it's a complete picture,
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
sense.
And the same with these still lifes, like the peach with the sort of scar in it. You know what I mean? That's a comment about beauty and, the obsession with, but it's okay, like this was for holiday again. This was an Austrian architect in that lived in oh gosh, where is it? Kathmandu in Nepal, and this was the house he lived in, and holiday commissioned me to go there, and so I spent a couple of days in his house. He died actually 3 weeks after I took these photos. He was very old. Um, but what a beautiful house, that
Yeah.
it designed. This one was for Ukraine Vogue. And again, it's very much about the landscape, but we'd done a collage kind of thing, cutting out the background. So you can kind of see that it's but again, I shot them all on location, but a day before the shoot with the model, I went out and just took pictures. Um, and then the collage artist cut them out and did things with them. So that was good fun too, doing that.
Mm.
Um, World of Interiors, they're nice to work for. This was actually a public toilet block, which was weird to to take photos in. Um, oh, sorry. That's from my book, The Guy and the Horse, The Tranquility of Solitude. That's one of the rarest birds in the world, the palm cockatoo. Extremely rare. You really hardly ever see them. And that was up on Cape York. And I remember like pretty much for about an hour stalking the birds, trying to find them. So that was good fun. That's from Cape York as well. So these are for Louis Vuitton, these pictures. So,
Why do they, because I've not seen,
they,
I've not experienced the publications or seen the
yeah.
publications that they
So
do.
what they do
Are
is
they the travel guides? Are they the travel, the books that they do? Or are they
no,
magazine?
no, no. They on their website they have a whole sustainability section, and
Right.
so it's all about supporting these communities. So what they get is crocodile bags. That's it. That's what they're trying to do, and they're trying to streamline it. Um, that that the indigenous people are making the profit and gaining from it rather than the middlemen sort of thing. So that's the process that they're going through. So all of these pictures are taken up there in Cape York on this 500,000 hectare piece of land that the indigenous people, it's theirs, yeah, and this is their community as well. Um, so I've been up there a few times visiting. And yeah, and they use those pictures. This was another one from Holiday magazine. So quite an architectural story. And again, they said to me, "Is there any like home you would like to photograph in Australia?" And this one is an artist who lived there and he built it by hand. It's in the
Wow.
outskirts of Melbourne, and it's just a really beautiful kind of constructed kind of arts and craft house that I was really nice to hang out in. That's a Marae in New Zealand from a book I did. It's another book cover of a book I did. Those ones are on 8 by 10, so they're very um, what do you call, considered compositions, very formal compositions. This was for a French magazine called Mastermind.
I
About
love Mastermind, Derek. That's
yeah,
probably the magazine that I buy is Mastermind because
yeah, Marie's
I
great.
think
Yeah,
it's so the fashion is so chic and clean. It's Craig and Ethan
yeah.
and all that, and you have
I,
these moments in
Yeah,
between
I
it.
love the way that she does that. Like she does, it's like real, it's like fashion, but it's really sort of quite honest, isn't it? Like you say, it's clean, crisp.
Yeah,
There's no artifice there. It's just the model here we go. Here's the latest this season, and then she'll go, Derek, do you want to go to Hong Kong and show us that contrast of high density humans living in the with nature, and they're very much like that in Hong Kong. I think there's probably a few other pictures from that series.
but my favorite magazine. It's the only magazine that I buy
Oh,
actually.
it's super nice, yeah. Um, oh yeah, that one's again, there's Hong Kong, like so, And in Hong Kong, the people there really love nature, but it's a really densely populated place. But maybe that's why, maybe because the contrast, they need that nature. It's like New York in a way, isn't it? People
Yes,
have,
it's surrounded by nature, right?
yeah,
So can
it
you go back
is.
to that cover? Can you do the Vogue cover just so we can see your work in the context of an editor? Yeah, like here,
Yeah.
just pull.
So the idea behind this, right? Like I went out and photographed all these landscapes separately, as well as shooting on location. So half the story is collage, and the other half is just not collage, right? So I went out and shot the mountains and the hills in the background, and then because we were shooting in Australia, and there was mention of shooting in Australia, I was kind of like, wouldn't it be cool if, because we're on the other side of the earth, upside down, if we turn the mountains upside down so we're on the bottom, but she's the right way up? So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, yeah, that's what it's like. You know what it like so and they were kind of like, oh fuck, that's kind of cool. So, you know, yeah, it's all shot on location and then cut out. And it's meant to look like a collage. We wanted it to look like a
Yeah,
collage.
yeah, it looks killer. Such a good image.
Yeah,
So good.
it came out all right, didn't it? Thanks, Andrew. Yeah.
So good.
She's a great model too, Abby Champion. She's lovely to work with, you know.
Yeah, I've heard good things about her. I've
She's
never
super
worked.
cool, man. Like if you get the chance, she flew out to Australia literally for a day to do a shoot from the
Me
States.
too. Me too.
I'm like, I can't like, yeah, I would have died. So, and she was like incredible. Like just got out there and just did it, you know? And it was freezing cold in the fucking desert. I mean, that outfit she obviously kept pretty reasonably warm in, but yeah, crazy. Another one for Marie Amelie for Mastermind and Old
Yeah.
Chateau, stuff like that. The flower book that I did, the Rosa book, The Still Life of Roses. Yep, Hong Kong, Condé Nast Traveler in Siberia, Japan for Mastermind, Holiday Magazine. One of the books, a different cover from the Tranquility. That's
Do you want
the
to talk about this a bit more for us, Derek? Because I've got that book. You kindly
yeah,
gave me that.
yeah. No,
I was going to
pleasure.
buy it. No, you sent it to me. You gave it to me. It was
Yeah,
really
yeah,
sweet.
no, no. Well, you know what? I got to say, Andrew, when I was up for the job, right, and you'd put me up for the job for Stella, and then it came through, through my agent. Look, Stella wants to talk to you. She doesn't work with anyone unless she, and
Yeah.
like, okay, so I got to talk to her. And it was like, oh God, it's like Stella McCartney, and the Beatles. I was more kind of like, oh my God, that's like you know, um, Paul McCartney's daughter. Like I was a bit taken aback, and I thought, so I was quite nervous, and obviously I wanted the job, and I had a mock up of this book, and we talked for a little bit, and then
Yeah, I remember. She really liked it because
yeah,
I
and
was.
and it was
She
like,
liked the story.
yeah, and she said, "What have you been doing?" And I said, "Oh, I've been working. I just put mocked up this book that I've been working on, and you might be interested because it's like got horses about this guy and this horse." And she's like, "What? What are you talking about?" So I flicked through on a Zoom meeting and showed her, and she was like, "Fuck, this
I
is."
was in the meeting, Derek. I was with you.
Oh, you were there, yeah, yeah. So it
Yeah.
was like, I felt like there is a really good example of your personal work landing you a big commercial job. And
Yeah.
it wasn't because I go out and do personal work to get commercial work. I'm
Yeah.
almost the opposite. I go in search of like a story that is kind of unique that maybe, nobody's really that interested in. Like it's a guy on his horse, I mean, and he lives off the land by himself. He doesn't have a computer, no phone. He's totally sort of nomadic guy that
Yeah.
survives off the kindness of other people, letting him, stay on their farms and things like that. And I don't know. I think that resonated with you guys at Stella as well.
Yeah, it resonated with Stella. I think again, just for the room, I know there's only three or four of us here, but what was beautiful is as I said, I was a huge fan of Derek's work. I knew the landscapes, I knew the Bottega things, which were really, for the right reasons, as you said, were unique in the fashion world. And then I had a meeting with Derek, a pre-meeting with Derek just before Stella, to say, look, if I was you, just talk about horses because she loves horses.
Yeah.
And then Derek said, oh, by the way, I've done this book. And I hadn't seen it because he was still mocking it up. And then he showed us the sketches, not sketches, it were like the blad or whatever, or the mock-up
Yeah.
of the book. And what was beautiful, Derek, was you explained the story so beautifully as you just did then about it was this nomadic guy who was just traveling through Australia, through various states, living on the horse, living in a tent, living in barns. And I think when you talk about that as a story, you could make a movie out of that or an
Yeah.
art film out of it. It's a
Yeah.
unique story, right?
Yeah.
It's a unique story. What's his story? It's an amazing idea. So when you develop a project like that and you do a thing like this book, yeah, it's like an art film or a film
Yeah.
in its own sense. It's a
And I
road
think,
movie.
and I
It's a
think
road movie, right? And
yeah.
it's a road movie, and like you did it, and that's what makes it unique, and that's what's so good about projects like this, you know.
I think so, right? And then some people, I think, in the creative industries, they go, well, this feels fresh. It's just we've never seen
Yeah,
this before. Fuck it, why not do it? What have we got? Why not? And there's not a huge amount of people out there that do that, but there are some, and that is, that's really rewarding. And I feel privileged to do these things with these people as well. So
and
doing.
the book design is beautiful. It's bound beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah.
Typography is beautiful. Yeah, it's really good. It's a beautiful
It
piece.
is. Yeah, look, there are quite a few horses. I don't know, because I grew up in the countryside and my sisters had horses and all that kind of stuff. I particularly was a bit scared of them, to be honest. Um, because one bit me once when I was a kid, and I was like, fucking horses. But I sort of do like them, but I'm scared of them. This is the designer's house in London. He worked for Dior. You'd know who this guy was. Kim Jones. Kim
Yeah, Kim
Jones
Jones.
for British
I've
Vogue.
got those. I've got those shelves, but not as many. Those Vitsus, I've got them behind me, but
They're
yeah, not as
beautiful,
many.
aren't they? Yeah. I mean, his house was stunning. Like that's his place. Yeah. And it's sort of in a small mews, and it opens up out into this beautiful house. And he was a big collector of art, a lot of Bloomsbury sort of stuff. Had a real great appreciation of art. They never got used because um, he had a fight with Edward at the time or something. So Edward's, we're not publishing your pictures. So
No,
nobody's really ever seen them. But a beautiful house, yeah.
show me the basketball court. That's
Yeah, that
cool. I
one.
like.
Yeah, that's the courtyard out the back. Yeah, and I just thought it was really nice how, there was this juxtaposition between this quite austere kind of beautiful furniture, and obviously he had a really great appreciation of art, actually. Like
Mm.
this guy knew his art, like he was really into it. Um, but at the same time, he had this other side of him that he was quite good at like working in those large fashion brands, and I'd really like that, like when people can do that. But so that was interesting. Yeah, well, doing that, but they never came out, so that was a bummer. That's New Zealand. That's classic South Island, New Zealand. Few nudes I was playing around with for. So I said, a beauty magazine was like, what can we do? And I said, look, I like cellophane and stuff. So we ended up. The editorial hasn't come out yet, but it's sort of again, it's that collagey thing again. So.
Well, this hasn't come out yet, Derek.
No, so
It's
not
great.
that one has, but this one hasn't. So
Who
um,
this is for?
it's for a magazine. It's for Love Want actually, but it hasn't come out yet.
I
So
don't know that one.
yeah, it's an Australian one. Yeah, so it's real hands on. I just cut the cellophane out and stick it down quite roughly, and then rephotograph the images. So yeah, so it was quite.
Looks like is it on film? It looks like it's on film. It's not, is it?
It's on 35 mil film. Yeah, just
It's
just
got a grain. I can see the
Yeah,
grain all over
yeah,
it.
the
Yeah.
grain's kind of nice on it, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I think they really kind of like that. So again, you never know, might get a commercial job from it. Um, and then this was in Patagonia again, up through a mountain range. This is actually where Bruce Chatwin stayed at this farm, this in Argentina and Terra del Fuego. But these guys didn't. The owner, the old guy, didn't like him at all. He thought he was a real bludger and had told him that he's got to leave, and they had a big fight. But and that's a long drop. So you would actually go out there, do your business, and it would there was literally a hole and it just dropped into the water. And I was like,
off the edge of that, off the edge of that jetty.
yes. See, like if I point, yeah, see
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's a toilet. Like so you walk out and you like it just goes straight into this beautiful river. I was like, oh, okay, all right.
You don't want to swim it. You don't want to swim in there then.
You don't want to be swimming in this area here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, a bit more collage stuff, which is quite enjoyable to do.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Some stuff, earlier stuff I shot in Africa and Egypt, which was nice to do, as well. It's a shame.
Derek, I've got to go to bed soon, Derek, 'cause it's like midnight and
Yeah, you
I'm
go to bed. Hey, Andrew. Hey, thank you for joining.
No, I'm gonna keep listening for another minute or two, and then I've got to run somewhere.
Well, thank you for your contribution, and because I feel like it adds to the whole understanding of what we do, what a photographer does and who he works with, and the communication and how important that is when you are a photographer. You've got your vision and everything, but you've got to work with teams, and you've got to understand that there's needs. These big brands need certain images, and so I think that's an important part for people to.
Yeah, look, I adore you, man. I love you. I think you're amazing.
Thanks,
And it's just like it's so nice to see you again. I haven't seen you in 6 months or so, and it was a great shoot. And I've worked with you for years.
I'm gonna send you an email actually because I'm coming over to Paris in April. So
yeah, swing by.
Yeah.
Swing by.
All right, Andrew.
So nice to meet you all. Enjoy the rest of the talk. And Derek, thanks so much for sharing the work, and thanks so much for setting up Authentic Films. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Well, before you go, I've just texted Derek the shot that he was talking about. I sent it as a text, Derek. I don't know if you've got that on your computer so you can drag it in. There's that one you were talking about down at Mackenzie's on the rock.
Oh, good on you. I'll send that one to Andrew as well. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Derek, have you got my text message? You got my cell phone, or I might have changed my number now. I think.
Yeah, I don't think I have. Send me your email.
Yeah, we'll do, bro. I'll do it later. All right. Speak soon. Thanks,
Andrew. Cheers, mate. Bye. So yeah, those ones were taken in Egypt. These ones were for the brand, the Italian brand. What are they called? Laura Piana. So that was a nice job to do. That's up at Cape York again. That's Mark Gonzalez, famous skateboarder. So yeah, I mean, there's lots more other images in there, but that's probably time anyway, an hour probably. Thank you for hanging in there, everyone else.
Yeah.
Not that there were many of us, but it was. I really enjoyed doing that, and I hope you got something from it, and the sort of an understanding of, what it is to be a photographer who gets commissioned, but gets to also take the pictures he wants to take. So was that how you can turn your mutes off, you guys, if you want? And is there anything you want to ask before we go? Is there anything you need to know? Did you want to ask? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I had to mute Elsa's. I don't know if I can turn it on or if she can.
Here we are. You want to ask something?
I'm in a really noisy place because I'm sitting outside.
That's all good. Is there do either of you want to ask a question? Because please ask.
No questions. I've known your work for a long time, and now I know you personally, so it's really nice to hear you talk.
Yeah, Elsa's a great photographer, a great artist, does beautiful work. You should, if you get a chance, have a look at some of her work. It's incredible. It's really heartfelt, quite personal work, but it's really, really, really beautiful. So, if you do get a chance, have a look. I reckon.
Thank you.
It's all right. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, no, it worked out.
Good timing. Well, look, hopefully I'll catch up with you soon.
Yes, exactly.
All right, take care.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya. Did you want to ask something as well? Yeah, there you are. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Derek. Yeah, thanks. Very insightful. Yeah, very nice images. I've been following your work for only just like 2 years now, but
Okay.
yeah, it was just amazing.
Oh,
I saw
cool.
your work. It is actually like the first work that yeah, the first like your first work that I saw, the holiday magazine ones,
Yeah.
and the one from the Tibet. I think it's just very breathtaking because I'm
Oh,
actually
thank you.
quite like interested in kind of like environmental portraiture stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's
Yeah.
just really nice to see.
I think if you can do that, you'll there's definitely brands out there that are interested in that, so you can incorporate that in your photography. Not everyone's going to want that, but there are, brands that want that. They really love they involving that natural world in their pictures. So if you've got that going on, keep doing it, and
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
showing it to people and getting it out there,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
I feel like we kind of like in this kind of like a weird situation between like commercial and personal work. And
There is, but I think the more that people come to you and say, "Hey, we love your personal work. Can you and could we incorporate that in our commercial, brand?" And so that's kind of what you ultimately want. But that can take a while because it does take a while to develop a style for people to see something in your pictures that you do. And then once they do start seeing that, and then they kind of go, "Oh, look, he can take a good portrait of someone. We can use that as a fashion image." There's definitely going to be, there's room for that for you to profit off being a photographer, and still doing the kind of work that you like to do. Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Will do. Yeah. Thanks, Derek.
No sweat. Thanks for tuning in.
You too. Yeah. Thanks for like hosting this. Very,
Yeah, a pleasure. Anytime. All right.
very
Best
insightful.
with
Yeah.
all the best with your photography. DM me on my Instagram and that I'll have a look at your pictures.
Yeah, definitely.
Do it. Do it. Just send me a message. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. No sweat. Thanks for tuning in.
You too, Derek.
Okay. See ya.
Okay. See you later.
Bye.